Good morning. Today on DIY Solar Power with Papa, we have this 12 kilowatt low frequency off grid inverter connected to our 127,000 BTU uh, heat pump pool heater. Also, that is connected to the 4-ton air conditioner that we have connected in this breaker box. So this is actually a 200 amp service breaker box that we have. But I wanted to go over the settings on this 12 kilowatt, and we're using this 6 kilowatt as a supplement for grid power. Instead of running grid in, we're actually using this as the grid because these are both pure sine wave. Now, this is not stacking it. It's where you can actually take the output from this one and wire it into this one so that you're actually using that to charge batteries when you go below a certain parameter that's set on here. So I want to get into these settings right here. And on this first one, the way we have this set up is we have this set up on solenoid. Remember, if you want to change these at all, when that number right here on the right-hand side is blinking, just press the enter button. And then this side over here on the left will start blinking, and you can use your up or down to change it. So it goes from solenoid to utility to solar battery utility. So we had that on solenoid. And then once you make your selection, just hit enter and you're ready to go, and you can go into your next setting. So that was setting 1. Setting 2, I have that actually set up as 100 amps to charge off of the grid. Off of the solar panels. So we can change that. So if we go to the third setting, it's on UPS. You can have that on 2 different settings on here. If you go in here, you can see it's either appliance or UPS. And when we're using this for 240 volts, I don't think it really makes a big difference, but I have it set up on UPS. If we go in here to, there is no number 4. Number 5 is for the battery. We have that set up as user defined. And number 6, we have this enabled. Trying to remember what that one is. And we'll get out our instructions. Okay, so number 6 is auto restart. Overload occurs. So we actually have that enabled, but if we wanted to turn it off, we would just press the enter button. Use either the up or down, and then this would be the D on the end would be disabled and enabled for the E on the end. So we have that enabled. And if we go to setting 8, there is no setting 7. The output voltage is set at 240. Once again, if you want to change that, just hit the enter button and you can change that 208, 220, 230, or 240. So we have that set up on 240. So we go to our setting for number 9, which is 60 hertz in North America. But you could put that on 50 hertz if you were using for 50 hertz somewhere. Number 11 in here is actually our maximum utility charging current. And you can actually program that on this 12 kilowatt from 10 amps to 100 amps. We have it set at 80 amps right now. So we also, for our number 12, is our setting voltage point back to utility source when selecting SBU priority or solar first in program 1. So back in this program 1, if you
select SBU or solar, you can program this. So we actually have that set up as, I think that was solar back there. I'm not sure. We can go back and look. Oops. Number one, yeah, it was solar. So on number 12 here, we actually set that up at 49 volts. So when this 12 kilowatt drops down to 49 volts or less, this will supplement it for the utility grid, is what this is saying right here. Number 13 is the setting voltage point back to battery mode when selecting SBU priority or solar first in program 1. And like we said, we are on solar in program 1. So we have that set up at 54. So when this charges up, when this is kicked in as our grid power, when this goes from 49 to 54 volts, this will stop charging the battery. This will actually stop using the input for the grid power from the 6 kilowatt. So it switches back and forth, back and forth. Not a problem with that. We were running that for hours yesterday. No problems with it at all. So the next one is number 14, and that's charger source priority to configure charging source priority. So we actually have this set up as SNU, which is solar and utility will both charge the battery. You can set this up as solar energy will charge battery as first priority. Utility will charge battery only when solar energy is not available. Or CU, you can do utility first. Utility will charge battery as first priority. Solar will charge battery only when utility power is not available. Now, after we do this video, we're going to do another video where we're going to set this up. Right now, this is solar priority and then the grid. We're actually going to switch this to where it's going to be the grid priority and then solar backup to see if we can get a better response out of that. We'll do that in a different video. So right now we have that set up as solar and utility, and that is the default setting right there. So we're going to go over to our next setting, which is number 15, and that is the alarm control. We just have that on. So it's ON for on or OF for off. So we just have that on. Some people don't like that beep, so I don't mind it. So the backlit control is on this right here. And then the next one is 17, which is beeps while primary source is interrupted. So you'll hear this thing starting to beep when it's something going on with your primary source of that charging. And it's good to have that on. All right, number 19 is the CV charging voltage. If self-defined is selected in program 5, this program can be set up. So for 48 volt models, the default is 56.4 volts, and it's settable between 48 and 58.4 volts. So if you go back into number 5, the battery type, we actually have that set up as user. So it's number it's USE05. So we have that set up as 56.2. Number 20 on here is the floating charge voltage. And the default is 54, and you can set it between 48 and 58.4. So we just left that alone. Now, number 21 on here set at 42. Probably need to bring that up. We don't really want these batteries. These are AGM batteries down here on this inverter. Probably don't want these going down that low. They never go that low anyways, but you can change that though. All you would have to do is go into this enter setting, and then you can change the setting right here that goes from a 4 to a 5 to 1, 2, so whatever you want to change it to. So we can actually, so if you wanted to change, if you did not want to change that 4 on the first one while it's blinking, just hit the enter button and it goes to the number 2 in the middle. Now we can change that up to 44 and 45. And we'll go 46. Now we'll go 44. Okay, so then we would set that by enter, and then we'd have to hit it one more time to enter that 0. Now it's blinking back on the 21, so we can toggle to our next one, which is number 22. Now, and that last one, number 21, was your low DC cutoff voltage. If self-defined and selected in program 5, this program can be set up, which we are. We're on program 5. We're on user for the battery type. Now, in this 22, this is a communication. We're not doing anything with this right now. So that's just set up as 1, and default is 01 right now. So now number 23 is the battery equalization, and we don't have that set up right now. So that is disabled. If you look in here for this, it'll say E9 DIS 23. So you can see it's E9 DIS, and then there's the 23 over on the side. Now, if this was enabled, all we'd have to do if we wanted to enable this is to go in here and hit the enter button instead of this flashing. Now this flashes over here, hit up or down, and now we'd be enabled right here. So we don't want it enabled. We're going to disable it. So we're going to go back and hit enter, and now we can go to number 24. Number 24 on here is battery equalization. And once again, we don't have this enabled, so we'll just go down to number 25. 25 is battery equalization time. You can go from increments of 1 minute up to 60 minutes. Or actually, I'm sorry, range from 5 minutes to 900 minutes. Sorry about that. So we have that disabled. We're not doing anything with that right now. And number 26 on here is battery equalization timeout. That is not set up right now, but the setting is from 5 to 900 minutes, increments of 1 minute in between. So we don't have the setup. If we go to number 27, we see that that is not being used, but once again, you can set this range from 1 to 30 days in increments of 1 day. So you go 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, 30 days, whatever you want. So the next one is going to be number 28. And number 28 is equalization activated immediately. And that is actually disabled right here, as you can see that. But if we wanted to enable it, once again, all we do is hit our enter button. Oops. Sorry about that. Got out of there. Let's go backwards to, 28. Okay. If we wanted to do that, we would press enter,
and then one up or down, and it would be enabled. You can say ENA, enabled. But we're going to keep that disabled right now. Going to set that, and then the next one is back to number 1. So it only goes up to 28 in here. And if you want to escape out of here, just hit this escape button, and now you're back out of that. So that's how that one is set up on the 12 kilowatt. If we go over to this 6 kilowatt right here, this is the 6 kilowatt, we'll see how we have this set up. So on this, we have this set up as SBU on this one, as where on this first one, it's solar. And over here, we have solar battery utility coming in. This is for our, our output source priority. The SBU on this, solar energy provides power to the load's first priority. If solar energy is not sufficient to power the connected loads, battery energy will supply the power to the loads at the same time. Utility provides power to the loads only when the battery voltage drops to either a low level warning voltage or the setting point in program 12. Now, the setting point in program 12 would be right here, and we'll see what that will be in a few minutes. So number 2 is the maximum charging. We have this set up as 90 amps. Number 3 on this one, we have that set up as appliance. Number 4, we have this set up as AGM on this. So we have this set up as AGM on the 6 kilowatt, but this is user defined over here. So you can use either one. You just have to make sure that when you're using user defined, you stay within the parameters of these AGM batteries. Number 6 on this is the auto start overload. We have that enabled. You can see right there. And number 8 is 240 volts. Right there, that's your output voltage. Number 9 is your output frequency, and we have that set up as 60 hertz. So the next one is number 11 is 60 amps, and that's for your maximum charging utility charging current, but we don't have utility hooked up to this one at all, so it really doesn't matter what this one is right now. Number 12, we were talking about that just a second ago. That's your setting output point back to utility source. So if we had a utility hooked up to this, when it drops below 46 to 46 or lower, it would kick in and start charging the batteries from the grid. But we don't have that connected right now. Number 13 is the setting point back to battery mode when selecting SBU, priority, or solar first. So we have that set up as 55. And if we go back to number 1, we can see that we had that set up as SBU. So we can program that. So we were on number 12. Now number 13 is the setting point back to battery mode when SBU priority or solar first in the program. So on number 12, this is the low when it goes down to 46. And then when it's at 55 on this, once it hits 55, if you had grid power coming into this, it would shut off and let it start draining the battery again. So that's all that means. Now, number 14, we have this set up as only solar because that's all we have. We only have solar coming in. So don't need it, but you do have the options of going CSO, which is solar first,
CUE, which is utility first, and SNU as solar and utility. And then we'll go back to the solar only and we'll set that. So the next one is number 15, and that's the alarm control. I just leave that on. Number 16 is the backlight control, so I leave that on. We're not doing anything with that. Number 17 is beeps while primary source is interrupted. I leave that on. That helps me if I have a fault. It'll just start beeping if it's getting too low or it's getting too close to going out of parameter. So we have number 19 is the charging volt if self-defined in number program 5. It is, the default is 56.4 volts. Once again, this is for the 48 volt models. And the default is right there, 56.4, but you can set it between 48 and 58.4. So we already have that set up as 56.4. Now the next one is your floating voltage. We have that as the default right there of 54. And the next one is number 21. This is the low DC cutoff. And once again, this is too low, so we're going to go in there and hit enter. I don't think that's going to let me do that. Yeah, see, it's got a little thing right there where it won't let me program that. So because we don't have that in number 5, the battery type, see, it's on this 12 kilowatt, this is user defined, so we can set that. But on this 6 kilowatt right here, we actually have that set up as AGM. So that means we cannot change this program. If we wanted to, we just have to go back and change this to user defined right here. So we'll leave that one alone right now. We don't need to touch that. So number 22 is the communication. We don't do anything with that. Then battery equalization. We're not doing anything with that right now. That's disabled. You can see it DIS. And once again, the rest of these, these are all equalization and we're not doing anything with any of these. But let's go back here. So that was number 23. You can see that right there. Number 24, once again. So that should be on here, 58.4 if you haven't touched it. And that's what it's set at. Number 25 would be set up as 60, and we haven't touched that. That's for the amount of minutes. Number 26 would be 120 if we haven't touched it. Oops. But we have, but it's disabled, so it really doesn't matter on the amount of minutes. Number 27 is 01. Number 28 is disabled right there. We have that disabled. That's your default. And then that should be it. We go back to solar battery utility. So we'll escape out of this. And that's how we have the 12 kilowatt and the 6 kilowatt set up so that we can use this as a grid backup to charge our batteries, or to add, if this cannot keep up by itself, it'll automatically jump over and do an automatic switch on that and start bringing in power from this one into this inverter. So later on today, we're going to take and actually, we're going to, over here, we have power coming in for this hot water heater here. And we're going to get a breaker box, a small breaker box,
and run this wire into that breaker box, and then put two separate 30 amp breakers in there. And we're going to be able to turn this breaker off for the hot water heater, because it only really kicks on at like 5 o'clock in the morning when we take our showers. Really doesn't run the rest of the day because we don't use hot water unless maybe we run the dishwasher. But I can turn that off, and I want to see how much it would cost me if I supplemented and ran out of this breaker box that I'd put on the wall right there. If I ran it over here and ran it down and into this, I'm sorry, no, I'd probably actually run it into this one, this 12 kilowatt, and see if we have a constant rather than solar, what it would cost me. Usually to run that pool heater, that thing's running 5,500 to 6,000 watts an hour. And at right around 12, 13 cents a kilowatt hour, if you're running 5,000 watts, that's 5 times 13 cents an hour to run that. Now, if I can supplement that and just be able to use like 20 or 30 amps from my grid, if I used, say, 25, that would drop my cost in half. It would be 2.5 times 13 cents, and it would be half the cost. If it was only using 2,000 watts to supplement it, it'd be basically 2 times 13. It'd be 26 cents per hour to run that thing. If it was only 1,000, it'd only be 13 cents an hour to run 1,000 watts. So I want to see if I can be able to do that to stretch the amount of time I can run that pool heater. Just going to play with it to see if I can do it. More for fun than anything else. But that's going to be one of our next projects. So I got to run to Lowe's. I already went to Home Depot. They didn't have what I needed. So I'll run over to Lowe's and see if they have it. And then in a little while, we're going to turn the pool heater on while we're using our solar. But if you had any questions about how I set up either one of these inverters, now you know what the settings are at. And if you're trying to do something with a really high inrush amps, you know what to set it at. So, and once again, both of these inverters, this 12 kilowatt low frequency off-grid inverter and the 6 kilowatt low frequency off-grid inverter, are hooked up to two sets. Here's 4 12-volt batteries in series, another 4 in series, and those are connected together right there. You can see the 2 red wires, the 2 black wires coming in. So we have 8 batteries on this, and the same thing over here. You can see that we have, 2 wires, 2 black wires, 2 red wires, and those are this set of AGMs right here, 4 of them in series, and the 4 in series down below. So that is how we have that wired up. If you would like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I hope you have a truly wonderful and extremely blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.